Welcome to the recap of episode 16 through 30 of Dance and Dice. I'm Toby, the Dungeon Master of the group, and if you want to watch the episodes live, we stream them, or try to stream them at least, every Wednesday at 8 o'clock CEST over on our Twitch channel, to which the info you can find down below. But now, let's get started with the recap. We continue the story where we last left off. Dominic had disappeared in the Elendor River. Bassoon, Kevit, and Gong had been taken captive by the city guards at the warehouse, and Zeke, being the only one who escaped the endeavor, had just fled with the chest the group had found in the basement. In session 16, we find Zeke alone in the streets of Cremor on his way back to the tavern Athtel's with the chest. It's late at night and it's raining, and upon his arrival outside Athtel's, Zeke feels an immense pain in his torso. After feeling the pain, he instead decides to head to the halflings the group has been working with as of late. Zeke meets Tace and tells him that his friends have been jailed and that he wants the halflings to help free them. Tace presents an ultimatum to Zeke, saying that he can choose whether he wants the halflings to help look for Dominic, who is still missing, or if he wants them to help free Bassoon, Kevin, and Gong from jail, to which Zeke selects the three over Dominic. After having talked with the halflings, Zeke heads back to Sornsalas to meet Neilrim, a wizard the group had met a few sessions earlier. Neilrim tells of the green light that they had seen, and that it must have been some sort of illusion magic, which must have been done by a very skilled wizard or mage. He also tells them that the torch that they have is a sort of beacon, which, when lit, tells whoever is on the receiving end of its whereabouts. Neilrim tells Zeke that he should get some rest, and that he himself in the meantime will try and see if he can find Dominic. Back in the prison, Bassoon, Kevit, and Gong are interrogated by both the helm, Malvin, and the detective Leiden Prowl. Malvin initially tells the group not to inform anyone of his visit, but the group accidentally informs Leiden Prowl later on that Malvin had been there earlier, to which Leiden is incredibly surprised. A few hours later, Malvin returns to the group, informing them that because they had informed Leiden, Malvin can no longer help them. Later in the evening, Bassoon spots a prison guard who looks a lot like the captain of the bandit gang who they just fought in the warehouse. Session 17 was an interesting solo session for Dominic. Last we saw him, he was getting pulled into River Elendor by a seaweed monster. And as he is being pulled towards the bottom of the river, he loses consciousness and wakes up on a shore by the forest, where a little elven girl is poking him with a stick. As Dominic gets on his feet, the family of the young girl comes to his aid, and the elven family brings him back to their camp in the forest. Here, Dominic meets a small colony of elves who all seem a little restless. At one point, Dominic feels the earth shaking below him, and before he knows what's happening, he sees big fiery rocks falling from the sky. In a matter of seconds, the entire forest erupts in flames and everyone panics. Dominic tries to help the elves get to safety, but is knocked unconscious by the blast of rock landing right next to him. When he comes back on his feet, the entire forest is scorched. The elves have all died, and as he starts wandering the Deadlands, he again passes out as his lungs are getting filled up with smoke. As he, now for the third time, wakes up, he finds himself on a shore, coughing up water. And next to him, there's another elven girl poking him with a stick, same as the first one did. As Dominic wakes, he asks the girl who she is, but she runs off. The family of the girl quickly comes to his aid, and the family informs him that he is just outside Cremor by a few hours, and he should be able to make it back there pretty easily. Dominic gets a ride back to the city, and on his way back he is contacted telepathically by Neilrim, who asks him of where he's been. The session ends as Dominic comes back to Cremor and runs into Tace, who informs him that he is on his way to free Dominic's friends from prison, to which Dominic is obviously rather surprised. Session 18 begins with Dominic insisting that they must go to pick up Zeke first, before they head to the Thaildorn to free Kevit, Gong, and Bassoon. After having done so, Zeke and Dominic are led by Jarson, one of the halflings, who leads them into the sewers underneath the prison. Here they manage to free both Gonk, Kebbit and Bassoon, but aren't able to bring back any of their equipment. As they hastily make their way back through the same sewers they came via, Jarson is attacked by what appears to be a massive worm. The group ends up killing the worm, unfortunately not before the worm manages to eat and kill Jarson, and Kebbit rips off the tail of this what appears to be young purple worm and uses it as a dagger. The group decides to take a long rest in the sewers, where they live up to level 4. In session 19, the group runs into Taze again. He's upset that they let the worm kill Jarson, as he was a good friend of his. The group spots a wanted poster of Zeke on the wall as it's being removed by one of the city guards, after which they are escorted by Taze to the tavern owned by the halflings. Here they are told that the boss wants to meet them and that he will fetch them whenever he's ready to talk to them. As the group comes back to Saltonas Rest, the tavern Zeke has been sleeping in, they're told by the receptionist that there's a room for all of them and that all of their belongings are located in the room. The group, being rather confused, heads to the room, and just as the receptionist stated, all of their belongings are there, including a note from Lyden Prowl saying, "If you're going to work undercover for me, don't mess up. Don't get caught. This is the last time I'm saving you." In session 20, Zeke heads down to talk to the receptionist to leave a note for Neilrim, and in doing so, feels the pain in his chest once more, but he heads back to the room without telling the group of it. The group decides to head out and find some new equipment for Dominic, who lost the majority of all his items when he was pulled into the river. After acquiring an armor, a shield and a sword for Dom, the group heads to Rispin's house, Rispin being Dominic's superior from when he was a recruit in the Cremor Guard. That's part of his backstory, not something that we've actually experienced during the campaign. Dominic talks to the daughter and the mother of the house and informs them that Rispin hasn't been to work the last couple of days, which the mother is clearly upset about hearing. In the meantime, Bassoon and Gonk heads back out to Lot 18, the stables outside of town, to see if anything new has happened there, or if maybe they missed a clue when they were there the first time around. As Dominic and Kebbit spots Rispin the same evening, coming back to his house, they realize that Rispin is in fact not just a superior in the Cremor Guard, but also working as the bandit captain who they fought in the warehouse in session 15. In session 21, Bassoon and Gonk spots 2 kobolds coming out from Lot 18 and lighting a green torch the same way that they had been instructed to. After doing so, a hooded figure appears behind them and slits both their throats. After the assassin leaves, they head into the office on Lot 18. Back at Saltonas Rest, Zeke talks with Neilrim. He explains to Neilrim of his chest pains, and Neilrim brings him to the All Faiths Temple, where Zeke gets dizzy and passes out. Kebbit and Dominic shadow some of Rispin's bandit members and overhear a conversation with them talking to Rispin about the missing chest, the one that Zeke stole in the basement and delivered to the halflings. In session 22, Bassoon and Gonk enters the house at Lot 18 and, unknown to them, trigger an alarm. They find 2 masks, both with the infinity symbol on, which they've been looking for a while, and as they try to leave, they're attacked by hooded figures. Fortunately, they manage to escape back to Cremor, and on their way back they meet Kebbit and Dominic, and as they all decide to head to Saltonas, they're informed that Zeke has been taken to the All Faith Temple, which is where they then go. As they get to the temple, they talk to Priest Valdin and Neilrim, who are both there. Dominic also tells Neilrim of his experience with the flaming rocks falling from the sky, the killed elves and the scorched forest. This upsets Neilrim and worries him, and in an instant he decides to leave, telling the group that he has to check up on something that really terrifies him, and in doing so he teleports away. The group is allowed by the priest to stay the night at the temple and look for their friend. They all wake up to the sound of a scream coming from the main hall the same evening. Here they see Zeke lying on the ground with a massive fireball hanging in the air above him. Session 23 starts with Zeke having a flashback. He sees himself in the Feywild, where he follows a pixie into a bush. In the bush, he spots a dark stone, and when he picks it up, it starts to make him disappear. Back in the main hall of the temple, a Fae appears out of the fireball, calling to the group saying, "Fae friends, Fae family, I call upon you. The darkest hour, receive my gift. We need you. Be careful. He will come for you. His army will come for you all." As she finishes her sentence, the bright light that emanated from her turns dark, and the group is attacked by a wraith. The wraith kills the priest before the group finally manages to deal with the wraith itself. In session 24, the group heads to Sontalas to talk to Zeke about the experience and the new powers he has acquired. What happened, or part of it anyway, is that he swapped his subclass from wild magic sorcerer to now being a divine soul sorcerer. After having talked for a while, they're fetched by the halfling gang, who informs them that the boss is ready to talk to them now. They arrive at the halfling tavern, and they're taken into the sewers underneath the tavern, where the boss has his hideout. Here, they're told that they have to open the chest, the same chest that Zeke found and brought to them, which, surprisingly enough, Bassoon manages to do with ease, just casting an ox spell, rolling a high number, and besting something I had thought would be a lot more complicated. After having opened the chest, the boss, who they find out is named Corsin, tells his companions to kill the group. Session 25 begins with combat. The group fights the halfling gang, and they manage to kill them all. They take the pouch, which was in the chest, and as they open the pouch, they find a key, which on its head has a crest of the Crytrapper family, overlapped by the infinity symbol that they've been looking for. Next to the key, there's a note saying, "As part of our agreement, I hereby give you your key. May it find you well, Rinham, and may it make for an easier passage through the city for you and your men. Lord A. Crytrapper." In session 26, the group talked to Silith, a gnome accountant who had been hiding underneath the table while the fight between the group and the halflings had been going on. He tells them that a hooded man came with a lot of the items that are in the hideout, and that they were to be stored for him, no questions asked, and they were then given a lot of money for doing so. The group, having just killed off the Nimblefoot gang, as they found out they were called, heads to his treasury, where they find a lot of explosive barrels and a sword, which Dominic recognizes as one of the high swords, a sword that is only given to the leaders of the army of Cremor. Gonk also steals an expensive bottle of alcohol from one of the bars in the hideout. As the group leave the hideout, they tell Silith not to talk of them, and that in return they won't mention his name either. They then head back to Sontalas to drop things off and agree to meet up with Light and Prowl later the same evening. Session 27 begins as the group arrives at the Thale Dawn to talk to Light and Prowl. While waiting for him, they head to the library, where they find out that Lord A. Crytrapper is Alterius Crytrapper, who was the grandfather of the now current head of the Crytrapper family, Lamia Crytrapper, and her sister Shinna, who is a priestess in the city. As they head to Leiden, they are told that he still hasn't returned, but instead they talk to Malvin and inform him of everything that has happened in the encounter between them and the Nimblefoot gang in the hideout, except for the key that they found. The group are escorted by Malvin and city guards back to the Halfling Tavern, where they then find the Nimblefoot hideout and arrest the few remaining halflings in the tavern. The group also is informed by Malvin that they can stay the night at the Thale Dawn. In session 28, the group wakes up and heads to a music shop to have Gonk's horn fixed, which I believe was broken in session 3 or 4. Here, they're told that they can pick it up the following day. As they come back to the Thale Dawn, they're informed by Malvin that the mayor of Cremor, called Brian, wants to meet with them, and that they are to be rewarded for having dealt with the Nimblefoot gang. Malvin informs them that in order to meet with the mayor, they need to get a proper attire, so the group heads into town to buy some fancy clothes. After having done so, they meet with the mayor, who thanks the group for their efforts and allow the group to select what reward they want, as long, of course, as it's something the mayor can deliver. In session 29, the group wakes up and discusses what reward they want, and eventually head to the mayor, explaining that they would want a magic item each. Dom would like a great sword, Bassoon an amulet, Kevet a pair of shoes, gong, a lute, and seek a wand. And that they would also like a status in town, so they don't get stopped on the street by guards for everything they do. The mayor tells them that this is doable and that their items will be delivered the following day. After leaving the mayor's office, the group heads to the music shop to fetch Gong's horn. Here they are led into a trap and attacked by the same hooded figure Bassoon and Gong saw out by Lot 18 a few days earlier. He stands in the back alley holding Kevit's brother Grom, who turns out to be a minor illusion, and tells them that the 10 days have passed, and since he has yet to receive his cargo, well, they're gonna be his, after which he attacks them. The group manages to fend off the hooded figure and his companions, but the hooded figure manages to escape and tells Kevit, "I might not have been able to take you down, but I'm sure she will." Session 30 starts in the back alley behind the music shop, where the group decides to head back to the Theodorn. After doing so, they head to the Theatre of Joy to talk to Shinna Crytrapper. She informs them that when she was a child she had seen a tunnel out by the Crytrapper estate, but her grandfather, who the group now knows to be Alterius Crytrapper, told her and her sister not to play around in that area as the tunnel was old and could easily collapse. The group then, after leaving, agrees to go check out the tunnel the following day after they have received their rewards from the mayor. In the evening, with some time to spend, they opt to head towards Yugo Reft, hoping that maybe they will receive some kind of reward for him as well, having just dealt with the Nimblefoot gang. As they arrive in the River Ward, where they know the majority of the orcs or half-orcs hang out, they find out that all of the Silver Tusks, which they now know to be the orc gang, are having a party at Rallory's Retage, the same tavern that Gonk has performed in multiple times, celebrating the defeat of the Halfling gang. Here they inform Yugo that they were the ones to defeat the Halfling, to which Yugo and the rest of the Silver Tusks salute them, but continue partying on. And the session comes to an end back at the Theodorn, where the group goes to sleep. They're excited for the magic items they'll receive the following day, and they're interested to find out what happens when they come out to the Crytrapper estate and when they come out to the tunnel. And that is where session 30 ends. Hope to see you for more episodes in the future.